Hello, welcome to a new lecture series on quantum effects, origin of life, and consciousness. This will cover in three parts. In today, part 1, I'll talk about quantum effect. My name is Sangam Banerjee, and my details are given below. Here I show this thing like today, since I'm going to talk about quantum effects. This is a low temperature refrigerator which goes down to 20 millikelvin, and for this is for quantum computing, and these are the two qubits. Okay, these quantum bits. We will discuss all this, and the second lecture will talk about evolution and origin of life, and in the third part regarding consciousness, these are brain activities. So we will discuss a little bit about brain activity. So let us start part 1 of 3, that is quantum effects. And what we are going to talk about quantum effects are, I have put some 10 points. So we will discuss about wave particle duality. What I mean by wave particle duality is that very elementary particle and sub nanoparticles, they behave like wave and particle. That's why this duality is there. Then observation of this quantum particle destroys quantum superposition. What I mean is that when these two quantum particles they interact, they go to a superposition state. Anyway, we'll discuss all this in detail in the next few slides. Third, we'll discuss about uncertainty principle, which says that this quantum particle, the position of the quantum particle and its momentum simultaneously you cannot determine. If you try to determine precisely the position, then there will be drastic change in the momentum, or if you want to reduce the change in momentum, then there will be uncertainty in the location of the particle. Then you have quantum tunneling, that is this quantum particle, unlike a classical, just imagine when you have a football, when you hit a wall, it will bounce back. But here, if you kick a football, there is a probability that the football can tunnel through. So we will discuss this in more detail. And then we will discuss about photoelectric effect, that is when you shine light on some material, some electrons gets ejected. And then we'll talk about quantum entanglement. Okay, that is that superposition, or they are entangled state. That is, if you change the state of one particle, then the other particle will also change. And also this particle, there is a possibility of teleportation of the state of one particle to a distant place. Then we'll talk about superconductivity. Okay, that is a material has some free electron, and generally at room temperature, the lattice vibration, the electrons will keep colliding with the ions. So you have a resistivity. But if you lower the temperature below certain temperature, the lattice vibration will reduce drastically, and this electron will now start attracting the positive ion. It will have an effective positive. So in turn, that will attract another electron, and these two electrons can be in bound state, and this gives rise to superconductivity. This also we are going to discuss. Then you have Bose-Einstein condensation, that is this particle, when you cool it, then generally there are two kind of a particle. One are called boson, which obeys this Bose-Einstein condensation or Bose-Einstein statistics. Any elementary particle, such as electron is an elementary particle and they are fermions, so they have a spin. They will rotate like this, like planet Earth rotates it as a north and south direction, and it can be plus half if it is pointing this side, and if it is rotating in opposite direction, it has a spin minus half. This is just simply a notation, bookkeeping. So when you do calculation, it becomes easy to calculate such things, which we will see little bit. Then we will see superfluid helium. That is when helium is brought down to very low temperature, then it becomes a superfluid. So this also we will discuss it, that its viscosity goes to 0. And then we will talk about many world interpretation, parallel universe, multiverse. So in quantum mechanics, these things crops up. So sometimes it becomes difficult to understand. This is, if you do mathematics, such interpretation just crops up. Then I'm going to talk about quantum computing, okay, using quantum bit. And then I'm going to talk about quantum effect in biology, such as migration in bird, photosynthesis. Then your smelling, which you smell, also has a quantum effect. And protein folding. Without quantum effect, it is not possible to fold the protein. And then we will discuss about what we have learned so far about quantum nature. So let us start. The first point out of those 10 points is wave particle duality, and I have said conundrum, which you will understand when I discuss this. So here I have said can be clearly observed for ultra small particles such as electron and photon. This is a double slit experiment. You shine a light, okay, which is a wave, say, and then this is a plane wave. You have two sources here, and they will be coherent because of this plane wave. They will come out in the same phase. phase, and then they will start interfering. And where, if suppose this is a wave, okay, if this is your maxima, here this is your minima, so now they will interfere and you will get dark spot. And suppose here is a wave, depending on the distance, if you move, okay, move here, then you may have, suppose this is maxima here, this is also maxima, so it will constructively interfere and you will get a bright spot. Okay, but if you have not a wave but a particle and you have two openings here, these two slits, and if you throw particles, you will guess that the particles will go in this straight path and will collect here, and through this hole also it will collect here, but you will not see interference pattern. But for the case of electron, if you shine electrons, you see some interference pattern. Okay, so there are some gaps here and some intensity here, and this, okay, that's why people thought, okay, this electron behaves like a wave, because we see with light, and even if it's a water wave, like if you have a wave front here, it will interfere. If you keep a screen, you can see constructive and destructive interference. So they thought this electron also behave like a wave, so that's why you see the interference pattern. So that's why it is called wave particle duality. So the conundrum or puzzle is that if I shine electron one at a time, okay, one electron comes, either it will go through here or through here, and here you see it is a, I have shown the screen where the electrons are falling, and you see spots. Then you cannot see here clearly, but here you see many spots, and slowly as time goes on, you will see that it forms a interference pattern, more electrons and there is less electrons in this screen. And that is the conundrum, that how single photon or a single electron, when you shoot, how they interfere. So this is a beyond the scope of my lecture here, but this is still a puzzling, and because of this, to explain this, people have introduced a multi-world picture, and maybe we will discuss this later on when we talk about consciousness and other kind of stuff. And maybe the 10th point also, which I am going to discuss, will also have the same property. It is also like an interference. And most interesting is that wave particle duality, big molecule C60, this is a carbon 60 buckyball, and this is aggregate of this. So you can see this particle. So these are not like elementary particle like photon and electron, which is very difficult to see and you only see its effect. But here you see a particle which you can see with your own eye, and they also behave. And it is in this paper, wave particle duality it has appeared in Journal Nature, and they have also seen this interference pattern. This is a reference I have given. Please go through it. The second point, observation destroys quantum superposition. So what I mean, see this, if you shine electron or photon, as I said in the double slit experiment, they will interfere and you get an interference pattern. But interestingly is that if you want to watch that this electron or photon has passed through which hole, and if you try to measure it and if you try to see it, then you don't get the interference. So it's very shy. If you see them, it doesn't interfere. But if you don't see them, you look back and you start getting interference. So that's why you have two reality. When you see this reality, and when you don't see, you get this reality. So when we don't look at quantum wave particle, it behaves as a wave. So when we don't look at it, it behaves like a wave. But when we look, it behaves like a particle. As I had shown it in the earlier graph, if it's particle, then you should see only two bands. Now the third point is Heisenberg uncertainty principle. What it says, one cannot measure the position and velocity of any moving quantum object exactly, okay, simultaneously. You cannot measure them at the same time, even in theory. So suppose there is a particle here and you want to measure the position very accurately. So you take a light whose wavelength is very small, then only you can see it. If you take a very big wavelength, then you cannot see it. So small wavelength means high frequency, that means high energy. So once you try to measure accurately, so this particle will recoil at a higher momentum. But if you want to reduce this momentum, then you have to use a large wavelength, that is low frequency. But if you use large wavelength, then you have uncertainty. The uncertainty is this wavelength, okay? So this is your least count, one wavelength, and here wavelength is small. So this is a problem one faces with quantum particles. So this is the expression, that is the uncertainty, the product of uncertainty in space and momentum is always greater than h cross. This is a Heisenberg's constant. This is some number. You cannot get zero. That is precisely you measure delta x to be zero, and it is not possible. So this is Heisenberg's Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. Next one is quantum tunneling. So if you have a classical particle here and if you push it, you give some energy, some kinetic energy, and suppose this is your potential barrier, but you have to give energy more than this, then only it can cross for the classical. But for quantum particle it is not necessary, because this quantum particle, as I said, they have a wave-like property. So it's wave packet. Here I have shown here that if this is a quantum particle, there is a finite probability for this end of this wave packet to go this side, and then it can tunnel. And this is for the classical picture. Okay, if you use a classical electron, will simply bounce back, and but if it is a quantum picture, this electron can cross this potential barrier. So this is always happening in the sun. Like here I have shown two hydrogen atom. Electrons are free, this ionized, and since they cannot come nearby because of this repulsion, but it happens in sun that two hydrogen atom, they combine and they form a deuterium. This is here hydrogen atom, there one proton, one neutron. This is a deuterium, and then also tritium. So in sun this kind of cooking is going on. Okay, from hydrogen to deuterium to tritium. Okay, next point is photoelectric effect. As I said, when you shine a light on a material, some electron will be ejected, and if you put a positive bias here, this is a battery here, okay, and you take the positive terminal of the battery. So these become positive. Electrons are always negative. So they get attracted, and you can see that when the electrons are coming, it will glow. So you get a current. Okay. So here I have done the picture that, okay, you shine a light here. Okay. This is gamma ray. This is also electromagnetic, and it knocks off this electron and ejects, this is the nucleus of an atom, and these are called K shell, L shell, M shell. These are different shell. The electrons are orbiting, but actually this is a Bohr's model, but this is not really so simple. Electrons really move in a very complicated orbit, but here it is for simplification, for understanding. This is a simplified model, and so this photon will hit this electron, it will eject out from the K shell, and since this is vacant from this shell, it will come here from a higher orbit to a lower orbit. When it comes from higher energy to lower energies, again photon will be released. Okay, because that energy has to be given out, and it gives out as a photon. Now we talk about quantum entanglement and teleportation. Okay, what is quantum entanglement? Suppose you shine a light here. H is your Planck constant, nu is the frequency, this is the energy, is h nu, and so this is the energy of the incident radiation. Always energy is proportional to the frequency. If it's a high frequency, it is high energy, and if it's low frequency, it is low energy. So when you shine this and you bombard it, you get a positron and an electron to keep the charge balance, and it will have spin. As I had said, every charged particle has a spin, up spin. So if this fellow is up spin, this fellow has to be in a down spin for conserving the spin also. So here also you see this has a certain angle, because this incident energy, or if you see, this is the direction, so it will go in this direction, so that the net direction will be this. Okay, if you study in higher class vector algebra, you will understand this concept of direction. Here it is coming directly opposite to each other, so this fellow is also going opposite. So this is an antiparticle, this is a particle, and these are two particles, they annihilate. This is annihilation, and when it annihilates, it gives out two photons. Okay, now this entanglement. So as I said, that since they were interacting with each other, now they have come out. So now they are in a superposition state. Here this and this, so they are now entangled pair. And now I do not know whether this fellow will have a spin up or this fellow will spin up. So suppose I make a measurement and I find that this fellow has a spin down, and then automatically this fellow will have spin up. So here down spin is indicated as 0, which we will be using in quantum. And here this is indicated as 1. Okay, so this is entangled one. So here I have given some symbol here. This is spin up, and quantum mechanically you represent by like this arrow inside a ket. This symbol is called a ket. And if suppose is down, then you write inside this ket this arrow. And if it is superposition, then you say is a superposition between up state and down state with some coefficient a and b. And there is a teleportation also is possible. And recently you just Google it, and you will see that they have teleported this information. So in teleportation, suppose you want to send this information from here to Bob, and suppose Alice and Bob, they have qubit which are in entangled state. So this can be sent here by entangling this particle qubit with Alice, and Bob will get this information. So, and that happens instantaneously. As soon as you entangle, Bob gets it. So here also, as soon as you measure down, immediately this fellow becomes up. So that's why it is somewhat weird that it defies special theory of relativity where information is going instantaneously faster than the speed of light. So these are the realities of quantum mechanics. That's why Einstein was also not very happy. Now let us talk about superconductivity. This is the seventh point. So as I said that this electron, when you lower the temperature, this lattice will not vibrate. So once the electron comes here, it will distort this lattice and there will be net some positive charge because more positive charge is here dense. So this electron will also come and they will form a bound state. And this Cooper wave will surf on this wave. Okay. So this wave will, you apply a voltage. These two electron, this bound electron will go towards the positive side of the battery. If you apply a bias, what do I mean bias means you apply a voltage and there will be a current inside the material. But this current, this fellow will just surf like, in sea or ocean, it will just surf on this wave. And if this current, that you have seen this coil, and if you pass current in a coil, you generate a magnetic field. And here also, like when you apply a magnetic field, also you can generate a current in the coil. So this material will generate some electricity, some rotating electric field, and this thing will create a magnetic, suppose this is an external magnetic field, this will try to create a magnetic field opposite. So this will try to prevent this magnetic field to enter. So as you increase more and more, then this fellow will also, current will also increase, and this magnetic field in opposite direction will also increase, and the magnetic field cannot penetrate, it will go through the side. Okay, so what is magnetic field? The field lines, these are the lines of the field. Okay, you have taken a magnet and you have taken iron filing, which definitely you have done this experiment in school. And this effect where the magnetic field doesn't penetrate and goes through the side, outside, is called the Meissner effect. And interestingly is that this whole superconductor may not be, this plate, there may be some defects. And through those defects, those regions may not be superconductor. Magnetic field can go through those regions. And these magnetic fields are also called, a number of line of field per unit area is called the flux. So this flux they get pinched here. And because of this, you see this is a superconductor and there is a magnet kept here in the rail, and this is also a superconductor. But this fellow magnetic field is not penetrating and it is pushing. And interesting thing is that you see here, they have made a material with lot of defects, and this is called quantum locking. And you can lock this. See here, he is moving, and you can lock it in any position, and you can even make it upside down, it will not fall because it's locked by this field. So these are some of the properties of superconductivity. These all phenomena will be required to understand our organic molecules, protein, and all this kind of things. So this is what is the role of quantum effect in macromolecule, that we will see. Now, Point 8 is Bose-Einstein condensation. As I said, in a boson, all the particles can go to a same energy state, whereas fermions, like, this Cooper pair 2 electrons, they are, zero spin, but they have half spin here. These are fermion, they are electrons, single electrons. So this electron with up spin, then down spin. Again up spin, down spin. So not more than that, you cannot put any more. So every energy levels you have only 2 electrons, and then the maximum energy level which is filled is called the Fermi energy. Okay, so this is the bosons, these are the fermions. And interesting thing about this thing is that you see this is a Bose-Einstein condensate. This kind of, they have taken sodium atom and they have lowered the temperature, and using some laser light, they have generated some periodic electromagnetic field, and there the lattice, sodium lattice, one can form, and this is called the Bose-Einstein condensate. And now if you shine laser light, interesting that the lights get stopped. Okay, of course when you put a light, light when passes through a medium, it slows down, but here it gets stopped. So this is one of the property of this Bose-Einstein condensation. And superfluidity is also a kind of a Bose-Einstein condensation, which we will discuss. And see here, it is like, these are the bosons, becomes a macroscopic quantum. So here I have shown that when they coalesces, they form a macroscopic condensate. And now superfluid, this is again liquid helium. Boiling point of liquid helium is 4.2, and if you lower the temperature for lambda point, then they form a condensate. But if you put heat, then only top layer will go, then next layer will go. And one more interesting property of this, see, is boiling here. It is then it becomes superfluid and it becomes transparent. And another interesting property is that this fellow can creep because wetting. This is liquid helium wets, then it keeps on wetting up and it pulls all of them like this. So this is called collective coherent mode. So they just drag everybody. It's not that individual, and then it overflows. So this is called the fountain effect of superfluid. Now this is the last point, parallel universe. So this is almost like a double slit experiment. You see that you have a light here and there's a beam splitter and it goes, this coordinate I call -1. You can make a quantum computer of this also, which we will see later on. And this is a +1 direction, and this is a laser light, and it splits into two. In half goes to +1 direction and rest half goes to -1 direction. And interestingly is that again this is a mirror, it gets reflected back and then they interfere, but nothing comes out in this detector. So this is explained here, I have explained here. Suppose you have a laser light, okay, it splits, and then here this is a mirror, this is a mirror, and you adjust the distance such a way that here there is a destructive interference, so there is no photon, and you can detect photons in this detector here. But suppose if I block this, okay, instead of here I block this, then photon will go here, but it is blocked. I don't have photon here, but this photon, when it gets reflected, now this doesn't have a photon to interfere, so it will pass through this and it will, both the detector you will get photon. The more interesting thing is, okay, fine, when I'm putting a continuous is okay, but what happens when I put a single photon? So here you see laser is sending single photon, and you see when this fellow is up here, if you see when it goes up, you will see that this particle, if you follow it, both the detector you will get it. But when you are, when this detector goes down, the single photon, here I have shown, so it will only go to this one. So you just rewind and just have a look. That is what we have done here. So the question is how a single photon, suppose I send a single photon, half and half, how do they interfere? So it seems it is not possible for a single photon to interfere with itself. So this is an interesting thing, and to explain such things, they introduce a multiverse and parallel universe. So let us not go, this is more mathematically more complicated. So mathematics reveals such kind of ideas, okay, about parallel universe. Now we will discuss what is classical computer before going to quantum computer, just 2 slides. So I'm going to talk about this classical digital electronics. So it is very simple to know that, if you have a battery and there's a bulb, and if you short here, the bulb, the current will go through here but not to the bulb, because bulb has a higher resistance and current always take a lower resistance path. So this is when you put this on, the bulb is off. Okay, so here it is when this is 1. This is a truth table for the NOT gate, here I have shown. And when it is open, the output is 1. So similarly for this is for AND gate, that is just simply putting 1 on A on will not help. You have to put A and B both. So this is a truth table of AND. That is when only you will get, for all you will get 0. Only when both are on you will get 1. Okay. So similarly there are truth table for NAND. NAND means opposite of AND. Okay. So you put one more NOT and then AND. You get there's a NOT gate and this is an AND gate. This is AND gate symbol. So this is 0 plus 2 plus 1 is 3. And similarly this is 2 to the power 2 is 4. So 4 plus this is 0 into any number is 0. So you write as 1, 0, 0, this blue. So this is the binary digits for 4 and 0, 1, 1 is for 3. So here you input 3 and 4 if you type. Of course, it converts into binary digits 1, 0, 0 and 1, 1, 0. And you get answer 12. So you get 0, 0, 1, 1. 0, 0. Okay. So this is 1, 1, 0, 0. So it's 12. Okay. Just pause and go through it. Now let us discuss quantum computer. In a quantum computer, as I said, you have qubits. There are, spins. These particles have spins and they have all kind of orientations. Okay. So they can be in entangled state. If this goes up, this fellow will go down. So this is your entangled state. And in classical bit, you have 0 and 1. But here you have any orientation spin also. And these are the coefficient which tells you the probability of this state 0 and 1. So here I have compared classical bit with quantum bits. So classical bit can be either 0 and 1. And suppose I have 3 bit here and say it is 0, 1, 1. So I will have only one state here, 0, 1, 1. But suppose you have a quantum bit which can also take 0 and 1, and it is a superposition. This can become 1 and 0 is not possible here. So then if you take 3 qubit, so each qubit can take either 0 or it can become 1. So all combinations, 8 combinations you will get at same time. Whereas here only you have only one combination, because here they are in superposition. They will always fluctuate between, each of them will fluctuate between 0 and 1. So if you have 3 qubits, you have 8 states. It is equivalent to 8 classical bits. And if you have 10, okay, this is 2 to the power 3. This is 2 to the power 10. This is 1024 number of bits. And so if you have 10 qubits, then you have so many equivalent classical bits, which is equal to 128 bytes. And if you have 20, then this number is becomes so big, okay, and this is 131 kilobyte. And for 300, it is enormous, e to the power 90 classical bits, which is much greater than particles in the universe. So here, just briefly in this one slide, I am talking about entanglement and superposition of quantum bits. So this is a qubit and this is an arrow, and I say that there is a probability for particle to collapse to 0 is 60%, and very low probability because anyway it is slightly up, so say 40%. And here 85% it can go down, and 15 very low probability that it can flip, because it has all the possible probabilities. And here you see if they are in entangled state and you have entangled it, this one qubit here and another qubit here. So from here you can see that this is an entangled state, and here you can see that there is more probable to go to 0 and this qubit has more probability to go to 1. So 1, 0 will have the highest probability and remaining will have a less probability. And here similarly here you will see that it has more probability to come to state 1, 1 than other state. So in a qubit, what it is that you have this qubit can be described by quantum wave function, and if 2 qubits are there, it will superpose, and suppose this is maximum and this is minima of the two different qubits, so they will add up and become 0, and this 2 will add up and become more big, and this is called the destructive interference, and this is called the constructive interference. So you will have a net result of the wave function like so. Here also, if you have 3 qubit here and you have a wave function, you have to add them, and this is the overall wave function, and then you can have a probability distribution when you make a observation. And on observation you will get, say this is close to 0, this is close to 1, 0. So maybe on measurement one can get this answer, but it's not always. But when you, this is all probability, but if you repeat it and you sum it, the more probable will keep increasing, and that is your solution. One of the application of this quantum computing is in search algorithm. That is, suppose you have many entries, say a million entries, and in that entries randomly it has been kept somebody's name and telephone number, and you have to really go one by one, and it takes a lot of time in finding using classical computer. But in quantum computer you can do this much quicker. So in this search algorithm, suppose you want to search this state, okay, what you do, you initialize all the quantum bit, okay, here I have shown there, initialize all the quantum bit to some particular state, and then you apply an oracle, and in this oracle you flip it. Here I have shown here, you flip this one, and then you measure the average here, average amplitude, and once you get the average amplitude, you can again flip along this line, so you get this. If you flip this here, you keep on doing this operation several times, about square root n times. Suppose you have n qubit, so this is the time, and for classical it would have taken much larger number than this square root n. And once you amplify whatever you are searching, you get a high probability, and then later on you measure, you get the answer. So this is the basic algorithm. Of course, quantum computing cannot be taught or in such a short period. And there are some platforms where you can use this gates, and you can play around with it. These are different gates. This is like NOT gate, okay. This gate is a Hadamard gate, which does the superposition. This is a phase shifter, and so on and so forth. And just pause it and see this animation, how they are dragging and pulling, and you see the states get evolved. Okay, so the setup is like you have a classical computer, is a master computer, then you have you write the code and put it in a quantum computer, and then quantum computer will crunch and give you the result. Okay, you do the measurement and you check the result using classical computer. Now quantum computer hardware, this material use are ion trap. They can go in be in two different states. This is a low energy state and high energy state, or defects in solid. It can, the defects can move. Or you have semiconductor quantum dots. Okay, you have charge which can oscillate. Then you have superconducting Josephson junction. This is the superconducting qubit processor. It's quite complicated. They have again this zero state, some wave function, and out of phase wave function as one. And then you have topological nanowire. Here it is. So this orientation of this dipole can change. And as I said, the superconducting quantum computing setup, you have here very low 20 millikelvin. This is your low temperature refrigerator, and the chip is, this chip is here, and it is very sophisticated and it work at very low temperature, 20 millikelvin. 0.02 Kelvin means 20 millikelvin. Now let us discuss some features about computer versus physical system observer. So in computation, you have to give input, you have some rules, some algorithm, according to rule you have to write, and then you crunch it and you get an out. So it is like information processing. And physical system observation also, this motion is like computation, anything which you measure, and you have initial state, okay, this input, so your initial state, your state of mind or whatever it is, and then you have rules. In computer you have laws of motion, how you are going to move, and then you have a final state, you achieve your goal, that is your output. And this is also like an information processing. Here I have shown that the person has to save this boy, so he will compute which path to take, and then he will, according to law of motion, he will execute, and you will have a final, okay, whether he could save or not. And this is also like information processing. And I again compare this classical world with quantum world. So in classical world you have degrees of freedom. In quantum world you have equivalent to degree of freedom is observable. That is what operation you are going to do to observe. This I will show you that you write this kind of observables in terms of a matrix, and then you have a value. Okay, the value in classical world you get some value, but here you have expectation value, is the probability, and then you measure it. And in classical world you have single universe, and in quantum world it appears like, since there is an expectation value, so it seems all possibilities are occurring at all the world, and this is a multiverse. And then when you measure it, one of the probability or gets collapsed, and you get the expectation value. So these are equivalent. I have tried to get you feeling what is the classical world and quantum world. And classical computer, and you have a quantum computer, bits belong to this universe, but qubits belong to the multiverse, because you have superposition. So as I said that in quantum world you have to take into consideration a multiverse to explain certain phenomena, like the double slit experiment, where we could not really explain the interference or superposition of a single photon with itself. And then you have for in a classical world, you have average outcome of the measurement repeated almost infinite times. And here you get average outcome of measurement performed on many copies. Okay, many copies belong to many world, infinite of the system. And here observable belongs to qubits or matrices, as I said here, observable. So these are like, you have matrix, you operate on some state, so alpha and beta, and when you operate it on, this gets inverted, alpha becomes beta and this beta becomes alpha. So this observable acts like an operator. And so then the question arises, are we all bunch of matrices? Okay, now quantum effect in biology quickly. So this is a quantum biology. I will talk about birds navigation, then I'll talk about photosynthesis, okay, light harvesting by the plant, and then maybe quantum smell, okay, that how nose also, the receptor, they have some quantum effect. So the quantum effect in birds navigation, quantum compass of a bird. So you see here there is a bird's eye, and in its retina you have this cryptochrome protein here, and inside the cryptochrome protein you have two molecules, and when you shine a light, this act as a donor and this act as an acceptor, and the charge electron goes from this to here, it become positive charge, this become negative, and in the presence of magnetic field, this will get aligned, okay, they will be first since they are in entangled state, they will be opposite spin, but then this magnetic field will destroy this entanglement and they will become parallel. And this thing happening, the signal goes via the optic nerve to the brain of the bird. And it can also happen that, some positive charge comes and neutralize this negative. They become neutral. And again, the cycle can repeat, and then the bird, in the presence of magnetic field, bird has a vision here. See, here I have shown a bird. This is north, so he sees a very clear vision. But if he goes to other direction, the vision, he likes to go where the vision is straight. That is how they have been trained, or is an instinct which they fly. And here you see one thing is this, these are the European robin bird, and here one experiment has been performed, and here you see some robin birds are here in this wooden hut, and they have shielded with aluminum shielding. And if you generate RF signal, this is electromagnetic signal, through wood, it penetrates, and these birds are disoriented. But with this aluminum shield also they are disoriented. But if you ground this aluminum shield, they come along the line of the Earth's magnetic field. Or if the same cage you take it far away from this RF source, then again they follow the magnetic line. Now, what is the role of quantum effect in photosynthesis? So, you will see here that in photosynthesis, you have a light. In the presence of light, this carbon dioxide and water react and form glucose and oxygen. And this glucose can be broken down to give chemical energy, which forms ADP to ATP. ATP is adenosine triphosphate, and ADP is adenosine diphosphate. So with the help of energy, this diphosphate become triphosphate. So you have ATP. So you always have, from, if you have this energy, okay, coming from here, this ADP will become ATP plus water. This ATP will give some energy to biomolecule for its movement, that is useful work will be done, and some excess energy will be released as a disordered energy. Okay, this is also very important when we try to understand about protein folding. This energy which gets accumulated, we'll see this in the coming slides. So here I have shown you chloroplast. This is a plant cell with a boundary wall, and this is a expanded view. This is, here I have shown ATP cycle, which is then Calvin cycle. Here this is Calvin cycle, and here the light comes and electron is ejected, and this we see here, this photon comes and imparts some energy. But interesting thing is that why this photon is not lost while coming here, but that's why quantum world helps it. So nano world can harness the quantum effect. So here you see this single path breaks into various superposition of many paths, and then this is a reactor here. So this photon comes, this energy is transformed, but it goes from all and it concentrate here. This is the reaction center for the chlorophyll, and then from here electron is transferred to this. So here we see that there are two photosystem, and this molecule is also required to generate energy in the cell. So this is the process where the quantum superposition here helps to generate this electron. Quantum effect we observe also in DNA is called point mutation. Suppose this is your purine and this is a pyridine, like then guanine and cytosine, because A goes with T and G goes with C. Now what happens is this hydrogen, this proton, these two of them can jump to this place, and this process is again a tunneling process, and you get AT, you can get that A star and T star. This is A star and this is T star. And here also for G and C, this is your cytosine and guanine, and here also H can jump. Here H has jumped, and from here it has jumped. So this is also tunneling process, and they become G star and C star. Then this A star can combine with cytosine, which in normal A cannot combine with C. A has to combine with C, but here it combines with C. So this is a point effect, and they are sometimes good for mutation and sometimes bad. One can also observe these molecules as will be, for the origin of life, we'll see that the conformation can change through tunneling. So from here, the boat shape can become a zigzag shape. So here is H. This is called cis, and this is called trans. So you have cis, trans, and also you can have, this is your boat shape, is called cis, and this is a zigzag, it's called a trans. So this one can again go to boat shaped, and because from here to go to this you require to cross some barrier, but it can simply, it's called quantum mechanical tunneling can happen. Similarly for these molecules also. Now let us discuss this olfaction smelling, the quantum effect in smelling. So if you have a receptor here and this is the olfactory receptor in your nose, and if your fragrance molecule, they come and they will sit here, and this electron from this donor side can go to acceptor, and when it goes to a lower energy, from higher energy to lower energy, this will lose energy to this molecule and it will start vibrating. Now I'm going to talk about protein folding, and protein folding is very important because only upon folding the proteins get some functional property. And how does it fold? It is still a puzzle. And here I would like to say there is some understanding that how quantum mechanics come to its rescue. So there is a very famous Levinthal's paradox. The proteins are made of amino acid. These are the amino acids, and this protein, this is a chain like a bead, amino acid. Then they can form spiral, or they can, this is called alpha helix, or it can form a sheet. It's called beta sheet. So this is a secondary structure, and then again this can fold. This is your tertiary structure, and then you may have more complicated after this folding. You can have even quaternary structure. So suppose this bending, it can either bend up or it can bend down, left, right. So there are many. So suppose if I take that for simplicity's sake, if two states configuration per amino acid, and n amino acids will give you 2 to the power n combination. So this I can map here like 2 to the power 0, n is 0, that is no amino acid. But suppose you have one amino acid, either it can move up or it can move down, or I can say this head is up and tail is down. Suppose you have two amino acid, you can be both down, and this is say down up, or up or up down. So you can have 2 to the power 1. Suppose you have 2 amino acid, 2 to the power 2, 3 amino acid, 2 to the power 3. So if you have n equal to 100, then you will have 2 to the power 100 combination. Okay, this is for 4 of them, you have 2 to the power 4, 16 combinations. So if n is equal to 100, then we get 2 to the power 100, that is 10 to the power 30 combination. And if one conformation takes say 10 to the power minus 12 second, that is 1 picosecond, then it will take 10 to the power 18 second to do all these combination, and that is equivalent to 32 billion years. So classically it is not possible to think that how the protein is folding. So how does quantum mechanics help? So these protein are in a thermal bath, and it will be vibrating, and this will vibrate. I will show you in the next slide. So they will vibrate collectively, and you have some protein called chaperone. They help in folding also, and with the help of this vibration and this chaperone, they can take different form of folding. And this is, here I have shown you, this is the energy, and this is the energy of the molecule. Okay, when they are stressed, they are at higher energy state because it can vibrate in many modes. And when it folds, of course, it lowers the vibrational mode. And the chaperones helps them to go from one energy minima to other energy minima. This axis is the energy. So this is the lower energy. This is the lowest mode one. So this may be the most stable structure. This is one more local minima. So there are maybe many local minima, and one will be the global minima. So this you will understand much better here. Like you see, this is called the Schladini pattern, and if you vibrate this plate, this is a Schladini plate, and you put sand, and when you vibrate, you get various pattern. See here, things are condensing, and there you have a sound wave, again you get pattern. Similarly, you see in guitar also, this is for low frequency, and as you increase the frequency, you get pattern of smaller and smaller size. And here also you see these patterns are formed, and this was found long ago. So here now we talk about protein harnessing quantum effect, that is the weirdness for folding. I will go through this line because this will make me go through the understanding much quicker. So protein molecules undergo conformational changes induced by vibrational state, which I have shown earlier, and can And how do you get this vibrational state? Because of there is a temperature there, and because of temperature, your cell membrane and all will vibrate. And once the cell membrane vibrates, it will give energy to other molecules, and so to other molecules, including amino acid chain, and can show mutual specific coherent resonance pattern. So I have shown how this coherent pattern arises in that musical instrument. So can show mutual specific coherent resonance pattern which can communicate throughout the protein network through their resonating state. The similar to Chladni's pattern. Okay, and then protein structure is also modified by long distance quantum entanglement, because this amino acid chain and all, they can have some aromatic ring and they can induce some spin. So in protein folding, in literature, they don't consider spin moment, but if that, this also has to be taken into account. And presence of source of energy, that is, which I said, this biochemical reaction, ATP hydrolysis, okay, then endogenous electromagnetic field, which are dipoles and other polarization which keeps fluctuating, they all generate this energy. This is a source of energy. And thermal environment is cytoplasm. One can show, based on quantum effect, that system of normal mode will rapidly achieve a steady state. So you have this noisy thing, but they will slowly achieve a steady state where most of the phonon will adopt modes of lowest frequency, leading to protein folding. So this was suggested by Froelich in 1968, and he called it Froelich condensate, where there is a collective oscillations, and is like again your Bose-Einstein condensation. Okay, so they form a condensate, so they go to a lower energy state. So as I showed that boson particles, they go to the lowermost excited or energy state. So this is what happens. So here biomolecular structure oscillating cooperatively over long distance at specific frequencies similar to collective properties of system, which is called Froelich condensates, such as lasing, superconductivity, and Bose-Einstein conductivity. So here I have put 2 star. Here steady state means they are relatively stable state, okay, yet in some respect far from thermal equilibrium. But they are far from thermal equilibrium, but they are stable state, because you are continuously pumping energy, so it stays there at stable condition. So here there is a quantum coherent like state observed in the biological protein. So here you see, here they have taken some protein and they have shined some terahertz frequency, and they have found some order. They have crystallographic data, and here they say the red helical structures associated with electron density changes when the protein crystal was exposed to terahertz radiation. So here I say that dipoles all oscillating at terahertz frequency generated by cell membrane. This was Froelich suggested. Long range interaction between positively and negatively charged region occurs, and dipole oscillation interacts to form the band of collective polarization wave. So for example, this can occur in protein within the membrane, helps protein to fold within the membrane. Also, collective frequency as low as 10 to the 9 Hz have been calculated for a number of giant breathing and rocking mode of double helix structure. So these also, like big structure like DNA and all, also use folding, and this curling happens using the same phenomena like collective polarization waves. This is a timeline of quantum biology. Such you can pause and go through it, like how when Bohr delivered quantum theory with biology in around 1928 or something. 1932, Jordan published first paper on quantum biology. And just pause it and go through this timeline. I don't want to repeat this. And so what you have learned so far about quantum nature. So what we have learned, that quantum particle can behave as a wave and vice versa. So they have many realities. Position and velocity of quantum particle cannot be precisely described, which we have seen. That is Heisenberg uncertainty principle. Third point, quantum particle can disappear from one place and appear simultaneously, instantly in another place, like in quantum tunneling. And a particle at 2 places causing DNA mutation. Okay. And this tunneling can cause DNA mutation, even molecular conformational change, enzyme. We saw, smell we saw, where quantum tunneling effect is important for smelling. Quantum particles can be in an entangled state. That is, we saw for the case of Bert quantum that 2 radical pairs are plus charge and minus charge are made, and they are entangled. Those two spins are entangled. And the Earth's magnetic field destroys this entanglement. But origin of superconductivity at Bose-Einstein condensation we saw. And similar to Bose, we saw frolic condensate for protein folding. Then parallel universe we have discussed. That is multiverse measurement performed on infinitely many copies of the system, and sort of quantum computing for the collapse of the protein, for the protein folding, which otherwise is not possible classically. Then single photon interference, which we discuss, the double slit and the other MZ interferometer. Also, we discuss quantum computing due to superposition, interference, and entanglement of qubits, which leads to shortcut in time. We can do very fast calculation. I have not touched upon, there is a concept called time reversal also, which I have not touched upon. Then photoelectric effects and superposition in the process of photosynthesis, which we saw. And also we have mentioned that biological system too is also an information processing system like computers. So thank you, and in part 2 we will discuss origin of life. So see you in part 2 of these 3 lectures.